So if you happen to be one of the 39 million people who flocked to Netflix for the season 4 debut of Bridgerton, you're in luck. Part 2 has already been released. It happened today. And while there are plenty of factors into why the beloved romantic period drama is among the top 10 most popular series on Netflix that Netflix has ever had, its historical accuracy may not be one of them. Joining me now to help understand how far the show's creative freedom really goes is CU Boulder Associate Professor Nicole Wright. I've been looking forward to this interview all week, so I'm so glad you're here.
Great to be here.
Let me start here. Are you a fan? Have you been watching Bridgerton?
Yes, for sure. I think Bridgerton is a phenomenon. The numbers for the series are just so high and continue to be so.
It's so true. So let's kind of break it down to the very beginning. What period is Bridgerton supposed to be in? Is this really like Queen Charlotte?
Yes.
Historical characters, or no?
Yes, so it's set in the Regency period, which runs roughly from 1795 till 1837. And this is a time when the king is beset by mental illness, King George III. And so the regent steps in 1811 to revive Great Britain.
I love that. And that's what I think people don't understand. There is like a little bit of historical fiction. It's all about the love story, but that's there. When it comes to the sets and my favorite part, the costumes, is any of that accurate?
For sure. So empire waste galore during this period. However, we do see some borrowings from earlier periods going even back to the Tudors. So there's a mishmash of costumes, I would say.
I love that. What would you say are some of the biggest differences and then even similarities between the series and like what was actually happening in that time, right? With like the servants in the quarters and how they're having these big balls and that social life. Was that really how it was? Was it that extravagant and over the top?
Yes, we see glittering excess during this period, and the Prince Regent was really engaged with that. So we see in the series these sumptuous banquets. And then the next scene we'll see some people begging in this kind of gray mist. And I think that really brings to the fore some of that inequality that has an echo today with billionaires and questions surrounding that.
Good point. Out of the differences, anything concerning or just like totally off, like as a viewer, you should know, like this did not happen or this would never happen?
Well, I think Bridgerton really is, I see it as a Disneyfied version of history, right? It's very cleaned up, it's very sanitized, but there are also surprising parts where it gets at the truth. So for example, we see a much more integrated, much more kind of diverse array of characters. And to me, that actually reflects the fact that we did have those relationships across racial boundaries during the period. And I think that maybe we're bringing back history of Bridgerton rather than just covering it up.
Oh, wow. That's an awesome way to look at it. Let me ask you, is it hard, right, as like a historian to have all of this knowledge and background to watch a show like Bridgerton? Are you like, oh my gosh? Or can you just relax and like lean into it and take it for what it is?
I think anything that brings people into this history is a good thing. I really think that as historians and as scholars of literature, we have to engage an audience and remind them of how this history matters. So for example, thinking about this is Valentine's month. And right now we have this, with all these dating apps, we have this sense that we can just order up the suitor of our dreams, like a DoorDash dinner, right?
That easy.
But this series reminds us that love is not about checklist. It transcends checklist. And when we see Penelope getting together with Colin, or we see Kate and Anthony getting their clinch on.
My favorite. Oh my God, nothing was like season 2.
It inspires
let me tell
us.
you. It was just like their connection was so beautiful, and like I love how each sibling and each love story has been so wildly different because it allows your imagination to kind of flow, and you can say, oh, I see my husband and me in these characters, or, you know, I know people who come together in this way. They do a really good job, don't you think?
Yes, and even for older women, that's another thing that I think is so sexy about this series. We see Violet Bridgerton, we see Lady Featherington. They have romantic possibilities that pop out to them. And I think that's really, that gives viewers viewers hope, and it explains why across demographics this series is popular.
I love that you said that, because Violet Bridgerton has been my favorite part of this season so far. When she's like, you know, having her moment, and she looks so good.
Yes.
She's like, I'm what you're having. Oh yes, give
getting
me more
screen time.
Yeah, and she deserves it. I love that. Can you come back and talk more again about
I would love
Bridgerton
to.
or other series, right? Outlander. There's so many other things we could discuss.
So many.
With Nicole, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Fun.